You all right? You didn't take the quiz yesterday. You need to make sure you have that done. All right, hello students, and it's Tuesday, but it feels like Friday. Isn't that funny? Not really. All right, well, you guys all sound so excited to be here, and I mean, you did choose to come. Let's make that real, right? So, I'm going to let these people in. All right. Hello, Zoom people. Here's what we're going to do here. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen, and I've got a question I want you to ponder today. So, there we go. There we go. All right, so it should be on your screen. What factors caused the Industrial Revolution to begin in England? So, this is kind of what we're looking towards today. Just a reminder, if you missed yesterday, you definitely need to watch the video under announcements. And then there's more than a handful of you that did not take the quiz that need to take the quiz. If you didn't take the quiz, it says NHI. And if you don't take that by, I don't know, the end of the quarter, it'll go in as 0. All right, so guessing or no guessing, you're better off taking it, okay? And you're supposed to be reading anyway, so you're taking it over your reading notes, really. All right, so what factors caused the Industrial Revolution to begin in England? What do we got in the class here? We're going to put our phones away, okay, Vince? We're going to be present with the people we're with for one more day. Let's go. Who's got it? Do we have any hand raisers on the Zoomers here? Maybe? We got Brooke. What do you think, Brooke?
Is it like the population growth and how it increased and how
we can't hear you. Sorry. Oh. Try that again, Brooke.
Is it like the population growth and how the more children were living past like childhood and the infant rate, like death rate, was like dropping significantly?
There you go. So we have students in the classroom that are vigorously writing that down and participating as they would be if we were normally in class, not sitting here in a state of vegetation that looks like you're doing nothing. That would be the majority of you. And Lucy wanted to add to that. Okay, so new materials and new training opportunity. That's good. Yes. Okay, so another person says agricultural improvements and making more food means more people live. Yes, correct. And the potato would be an example of that. Anything else that we remember? If not, I'm just going to get going. Maybe we won't go the whole time. We probably will, though, but we'll see what happens. All right, so let's see what you got. First off, England has favorable natural resources for this thing called the Industrial Revolution. They had fast-moving rivers that could provide power. They had coal located close to the surface of the earth, which meant that it could be mined. They also had enough farms to provide food for a growing population. We kind of got population pressure. That's good. We definitely missed on what was called the cottage industry, which first started in Great Britain. We got huge advantages in world trade, okay, because that provides capital. Capital is what is used to create factories. We got technological developments, I think. We'll go over that. We did not get the government support of business. You have to remember here that while France was having a revolution, England was fairly stable in its government, and they supported capitalism, okay? They supported people taking risks with their money
and the government was not that involved in the economy, which helped it. All right. Does that make sense to everybody? Good. All right. So moving on. First off, you can't have an industrial revolution until you get an energy source. Okay. So the first part of the revolution has to be an energy. One, food. Two, some type of energy to fuel new products. Okay. So coal. Coal is condensed charcoal. Okay. It is naturally found in the earth after millions of years of pressure on dead materials, organic dead materials, right? That's what coal is. So coal can come in various different forms. Some coal can be very dense. Some coal can be very not dense. And thus, it depends on how much energy it releases. The denser the coal, the more effective it is at creating energy. Does everyone understand that? Okay, it's like burning a pile of wood versus burning a pile of charcoal from the grocery store. The charcoal lasts a lot longer and provides heat quicker. The wood takes longer to heat up and it doesn't last as long. Everyone understand the difference here? Okay, so coal also heats houses. You have to have it if you want to have a heated house because you don't have electricity at this time. You don't have space heaters at this time. You don't have natural gas at this time. Okay? Makes sense. So take a look at this. 1750, Great Britain was producing 2.5 million tons of coal in Great Britain. Okay? Fast forward 78 years later, and they are now producing 15 million tons of coal. Okay? That should provide a pretty clear example of why Britain had the advantage in starting the Industrial Revolution and getting out in front and ahead of other major world powers at this point. Okay? Technology. Okay? Originally used muscle power, then you used animals, and eventually gunpowder. Eventually that's going to be replaced by machines. We know that. Okay? What is iron? Iron is an element, right? Who's in chemistry? What's the symbol for iron? What is it? Fe. Okay. So iron is really important. Okay, it is what you make steel out of. What does steel produce? What can you do with steel? You can make guns. You can make beams. You can make railroads. Basically, a lot of stuff that you needed to make in the Industrial Revolution, including machines, needed to have steel. What's the difference between steel and iron? What's the difference between steel and iron? Yes, sir. The difference between steel and iron, you add something to it. What do you add to it? Let me show you a picture here. Okay? The Chinese came up with this a long time ago, but it wasn't as sophisticated. So you add limestone, okay? And then you add coke, which is basically an extremely condensed version of coal. And then you add what's called iron ore. Iron doesn't come naturally. It comes with ore with it. What is ore? Griffin, you know what ore is? No? You know what it is, Lucy? Yeah, it's stone. It's rock that is not functional, not needed. Okay, it's what our streets in Indianapolis are paved out of. It's why we have potholes constantly every winter. Okay, because they use the cheapest rock they can possibly get to pave our streets. Where do they get that from? Gary, Indiana. Why? Because Gary has multiple steel foundries there. They take the ore, which is called slag, and they use it to create junk, tracks. Like they used to use it to make a track. I mean, it's just a wasted material. So if you look at this blast furnace, it's actually pretty interesting. Okay, so you throw all these ingredients together. The gases move out the top. You see how hot it gets on the bottom. And then you blast it with more hot air. And what comes out on the bottom is perfect iron known as steel. And then the slag comes out at a different level. And that slag is a different color. If you ever drive to Chicago, okay? You know, you can take two routes. You can take 94 into the city, or you can take the expressway, 90. You take 90, you stay tighter to the lake, and when you go up, you'll see mounds of slag all over the place. I mean, that's Gary. I mean, I went to school close to it in college, and I mean, it's still done this way today, okay? So in order to do that, you have to have coke, which is a very condensed form of coal, okay? Now, getting coal is not easy. Everyone understand that? Because it's underneath the ground. And there aren't 20 million Inca or Aztec people to get them for you. Kind of like in Potosi. So you have to go get it yourself. So take a look at this. This should show you what technology is about, what the Industrial Revolution is about. 1 ton of coal took 50,000 miners in 1800. By 1850, 30 tons, 200,000 miners. Notice I said miners, not minors. A lot of them were minors, right? You see the difference? Yeah? All right, good. All right, by 1880, 300 million tons. That's quite a dramatic shift in 30 years. But now you have 500,000 people employed. And you'll notice, what do you see by the start of World War I? What do you notice, folks in the room? Come on. It goes down. Why? But yet you have 1.2 million people working. It runs out and it gets more difficult to get when it's further underneath the ground. When the veins of charcoal and coal get deeper into the ground, the mines have to go deeper. It's more dangerous, takes more people. And so there's a reason why you see the United States between 1880 and 1914 bypass Britain as the largest manufacturing country in the world. Make sense to you folks? All right. Now on the screen, you're going to see a bunch of children in extremely unsafe equipment wearing candles on their head in places that are easily combustible. Let me tell you a quick story. This is a Dan Brunette doo-doo story. My wife, I think, saw me but didn't say anything because I could have gotten in major trouble. Last Sunday, I was collecting all the sticks that blew down in the wind, and I put them in our fire pit, and I poured gasoline on it, and then I lit it, but I didn't give enough time for the flames to, the gasoline flames to kind of like move, and so it made a huge explosion, and I like jumped away, and I felt like half my body, like I could feel like the heat. And I know my wife was doing the dishes and was staring right out there. And I think she saw it. Like, I didn't want to admit to it. She didn't call me out. I should have gotten called out. It was insane. So it made me think of all these little kids mining, like, again, with these, they don't have lamps, so they use candles on their head. And they're underneath the ground, again, with all these gases that can burst on fire at any point or explode. That would be not fun at all. I was a little scared when that happened. I can't believe I even admitted it to you. All right. So, first off, you got coal. All right. Now, You have to have people to obviously work, right? And so beginning in the 1700s, mid 1700s, England or Great Britain starts to change how they do their serf farming, like serfdom and farming, okay? And they enact a series of movements called the enclosure movement. You want to underline that one. Write it down if you're doing the writing thing. If you're doing the deja vu thing or daydreaming, you probably want to stop that. Okay. So the enclosure movement was basically where farms were no longer allowed to be commonly farmed, but farmers had to put fences or hedgerows up to close off their farm. Enclosure, to close in your farm. And what happens then is one farmer is now able to farm a lot more land than before, which means one farmer can produce a lot more food, which that means there's a bunch of people out of work, right? Where do those people move that are out of work? They got to move somewhere, so they go wherever they can find a job. Where can they find a job? Well, coal mines, and then eventually in factories in the cities. Okay, so that's the obvious rise of urbanization as well. But it starts with, again, Great Britain and changing the way that their farming system worked, okay? Then you add the fact that the scientific revolution and the Enlightenment, also known as common sense, was added to farming, and you end up having a bunch of different farm technology products that are made, which make producing food way easier. Okay, I'll show you some in example in a little bit, but I think my favorite one is the seed drill, because when you're in class, I make a fake seed drill and I show you how it works. It's like putting a lawnmower on the ground and just pushing it in a straight line. It's really cool. And it just plants a seed like every 12 inches at the same depth in the ground. Sounds basic, right? Like common sense. Ah, yes. But now you know your seeds are exactly the same distance apart, and you know that they're going to get the same amount of sunlight, and you're going to have space to get rid of the weeds. Whoa! That's crazy. Think about how life-altering that is. You had spent the majority of your life throwing out seeds like this, just hoping they landed and went in the hole, and now all of a sudden, whoo, it's in a straight line. Dang! And they're all the same distance apart. Isn't that crazy? That's like food. Now I get food finally, but a lot of people lost their job too, like I said. So, got to deal with that. Here's what the Enclosure Act looked like. This is a below average picture at best, even if you're on Zoom or in person. But you guys see the hedgerows? Anyone seen the movie Saving Private Ryan? If you haven't, what have you been doing in the last 9 months on COVID land? Griff Dog, how's the phone on the watch? Think we can put it down? All right, appreciate it. Yeah. So if you've ever seen Saving Private Ryan, the Battle of the Hedgerows was after D-Day, when the United States, France, Great Britain, and Canada was pushing back into, from France into Germany. They had to deal with all these hedgerows. That's exactly what this is. They didn't have the money to build fences, so what they did is they just put bushes to close off these farms. And again, that leads to massive population growth like this. Okay, so you can see between 1700 and 1850, doubling, tripling of population in Great Britain alone. Okay, moving on, manufacturing. So at first, okay, Great Britain was getting cotton from where? Where was Great Britain getting cotton from? Come on, somebody. Where was the cotton coming from in Great Britain? The southern United States or or you're close, a little bit further south and a little bit west. India. So Great Britain has to be able to clothe all these babies that are living past birth, right? Heaven forbid you got naked babies running around the streets. That's not good. Get them a cloth diaper. That cloth just doesn't come out of thin air, does it? No. So they need clothes, okay? We don't understand this because we can go to Goodwill and buy like 7 bags of clothes for probably less than $7. Okay, if you go on the right day and you pick the right color, item, it's cheap, right? I've gotten clothes at Goodwill before. I might look like a bougie man, but I'm not. I'm a cheap man, okay? Yeah, but these shoes are nice. I know that. But everything else was free, including this stupid mask. Now, here's the deal, but it's saving our lives. Now, early manufacturing of textiles occurred at home. It's called the putting out system, okay? Get your mind out of the gutter. Okay, it's the putting out system was a system that worked like this. Somebody who had capital, that's money, would bring cloth, like they don't have trucks, so they would bring like a wagon full of cotton to a village. That village would then distribute the cloth every so often to each home, and they would spin the cotton into thread at that home. Okay, by hand. Was that efficient? No. Did it get people a job? Yes. Okay. Now, that was done as part-time or full-time work by families. Women and children started to kind of get in on the action. This was the most basic way to get textiles, clothing. Textile just means clothing, okay? It could also mean like napkins and, what do you do after you take a shower? Are you air dryers? Are you the kind of people that just wait around and naturally air dry? No, that's weird, right? You get a towel, and then you wipe yourself with said towel. What? No, we're talking about your physical body. I mean, I've used a t-shirt to dry off before, but that's still a textile. Like, come on. Only in like extreme duress, like after like a sports practice or something, but like you do what you gotta do. So, this was not very efficient, and constant shortages of thread meant that there needed to be some kind of change. So, let's talk about changes here. This is a lot of stuff on here. You don't need to write all this down. You just need to kind of use your brain here. So the spinning jenny, you've probably heard of it. One worker runs 8 spindles instead of one worker running 1 spindle. Got that, Vince? You with me? Good stuff. All right, the water frame. You don't even have to have a human being anymore. What do you need? Moving water, which is why rivers that that run downhill are efficient. Okay, the spinning mule, you combine the spinning jenny and the water frame, and that's going to lead to factories. Okay, that eventually can be run off of coal. Okay, that turbines can be pushed by coal as long as they come up with a steam power. Okay, so the power loom, this was, again, no humans involved at all, and wasn't as popular because it didn't provide as many jobs. It was expensive. The steam engine, James Watt, he is a Scottish man. Actually went to the same university that Adam Smith went to, who wrote the famous book on the Wealth of Nations, where he pioneered the idea of capitalism over mercantilism. There's difference there. Mercantilism, the government is super involved. Capitalism, there's no government involvement. So Scotland at this time became like a breeding ground for these ingenious people, and James Watt would make the first steam engine that actually worked. Okay, that's important for multiple reasons. One, now you can burn coal to make your factory run. Now you can burn coal to make a railroad run, right? Right? And now you can use coal to make a ship run too, aka the steamship. So, very important. Also, I mean, an African American man, Eli Whitney, created the cotton gin in 1793, which would unfortunately cause slavery to continue for the next 65 plus years in the United States, because cotton production became that much more easy because you could turn a wheel, or a machine could turn a wheel eventually, and that wheel separated the bad part, like the little what's the word for it? The seed, yeah, the sticky seeds out of the cotton from the good part of the cotton. And what happened then is that made more of a demand for cotton, and so you now continue slavery so that you can have more cotton farmed. Okay, Robert Fulton's steamboat, George Stephenson's locomotive. You can see how this all subsequently happens very, very quickly in terms of world history, right? You guys with me? All right. Here's some pictures. They're pretty outdated. I don't know. Imagine trying to work in that factory system. Sam Sewell, how many days do you think you'd make it alive straight working in there? Like 2 or 3? Wait till you read the DBQ documents tonight. Work from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. in a factory system like this with one break and very little lighting. How do you not fall asleep? You just don't. Well, you don't fall asleep because they whipped you. Literally. To stay awake. So, how would that feel? Not good. Would you go home and complain to your parents? I would. I would. Yep, I would. You wouldn't? Griffin, you wouldn't? Yeah, if you had any parents, that's the thing. Ashley, Grace, what are we doing over there? Why are we on our telefogne? Put it away. Well, I'm politely / not politely telling you. All right, so let's talk about government and business. What is the government's role in business? If you are paying attention to real life right now, the creator of the Twitter, and the creator of Facebook are testifying in front of the Senate right now. Whoa! That is the government getting involved in business. Why? I thought we were a capitalist society. We're not anymore. We used to be. Well, we realized that it ain't good for people, the common people. Okay, so still having issues with this in society today. Okay, now, Great Britain, here's the deal. They have a very strong central bank, meaning people could get loans. 2, that means that they could get, there's a well-developed credit market, meaning people were willing to loan money at an interest rate. Okay, we have that today. The government controls that too. But basically in England, with very little government interference and surplus of labor, and then with creative genius around here and the right environmental conditions, it leads to, again, the 2 factors, the agricultural revolution with a industrial revolution at the same time. Okay? Now, are other countries going to copy this? Yes. Who? What? America is a country? Say it again. United States. Yes. Correct. I mean, I have a tendency of saying that too, and then I'm like, no. I'm discrediting all of those other countries in South America, Central America, and Canada. I mean, no one ever wants to give Canada credit. I love Canada. All right. So let's look at this question here. That's not our bell. What were the positive effects and what were the negative effects of early industrialization? What we got? On the chat function, you guys can put it in there, positive or negative. What do you think? Yeah, the increase of child labor. Is it natural for 8-year-olds to go working in factories or mines? What should 8-year-olds be doing? They learn how to read.
All right.
And then do addition, like 6 + 6. And then they learn how to write. Or and probably in the next 10 years, they'll just learn how to type. But yeah. Okay, what else? Yes, sir. Okay, so a positive thing is a decrease in infant deaths and people start living longer eventually. Okay, that's a good thing, right? Some would argue that's a bad thing. You know that?
The infant part or the living longer?
The living longer thing.
Okay.
Well, and the infant part.
That one's more.
Well, when there's 1 billion people on the earth in the year 1750, and there's over 7 billion people on the earth in the year 2010, that's quite an increase in a short amount of time, right? Yeah. All right, come on. I'm looking for more. All right, let's see what's in the chat function. That's good. Zoomers, you're paying attention here. Let's see what we got. We've got yeah, I said that. Okay, yeah, the cotton gin increased slavery. Brooks says working conditions. Kim said it put a lot of people out of work, the enclosure movement. Hannah says rebellion of workers wanting for votes, representation, kind of what we talked about yesterday. Increase in child labor, revolutions, new positive beneficial technologies. Yes, like the iPhone 12 Max X plus 6, 5, -4 to the third power that just came out. How many new names can they give these things? Yes, Lucy. I'm lost on that one. Because you were working so much? Gotcha. Okay. All right. So here's some, you guys missed on a couple of things we're going to talk about here. So take a look at this, please. The factory system, which, again, if we were sitting in this room 40 years ago when this place was built, more of our parents have been working in factories. Okay. 1813, you have 150,000 people working in the textile industry. By 1850 in Great Britain, you've got over 1 million people. You can see the amount of looms. That's how you make clothing. Yeah, what does that mean then? This is the conditions that people had to work in. You'll notice the women don't have hats on. They don't have gloves on. They have long dresses on. There are no gloves, if I didn't say that. Okay? It's dark. Okay? There's not proper lighting. There's not proper spacing. There's almost nothing that would be acceptable in today's society in this building. Okay? You don't see fire exits. You know how when you go into even an office building, you see like fire above the door, right? Which means they can get the heck out of here this way. Yeah.
You know, super
It's all made out of, yeah. The thing is, they only had so much. Steel was so expensive. Like, the shell of a building might be made of metal or steel, but the rest was wood, which, yeah, very flammable. Okay. So a positive, though, could be seen as the increasing wealth, and this is going to eventually make life better. It's going to lead to this thing called a middle class, which there's never been one in society until the Industrial Revolution. Okay? Look at this. I think this graph tells you quite a bit. Okay? Very interesting piece of information right here. All right, let's take a look at Japan. Actually made a little bit more of the world's output, right? And doesn't really go anywhere by 1900. Look at the U.S. Wow. Why does that happen? Because of cotton? Slavery is banned. Slavery, Emancipation Proclamation, 1860s, right here. Why does the U.S. go up so high? You'll learn it next year. No government interaction, influence. No laws. Okay? And so industrialists like Rockefeller and Carnegie can do whatever they want to make as much money as possible. And the U.S. has the resources to do that. So you also have a ton of immigration into the United States for people who are mad about being Italian or being faux German or something like that, you know? All right, look at Russia. Basically the same. Habsburg Empire. Most of you don't even know who that is. Well, you do in my class, but I mean the normal human being doesn't know who that is. Okay, you got France. We talked about them. Yeah, not much. Look at Germany. Oh, they unify in 71, and they start to take a fair share of that, don't they? And then you can see Great Britain kind of maxes out in the 1860s, and then you're going to see a relative slow decline. Okay. What surprises you about this graph? What kind of inference can you make? Okay. What kind of test question would come from this? This is a very simple thing you might see, you know, on an AP style test question. Sure, cause what though? That's what I'm asking. Yeah. By the United States, okay, by Germany, okay, by Great Britain in the early 1800s. You see that? I mean, these are, you have to be able to apply what we're talking about to seeing trends in data. Everyone understand that? Okay. Urbanization. So you're not going to be able to see it that well unless you're on the Zoom and it's on your screen. But look at the growth and the size of the city of Manchester. If any of you follow soccer, football, okay, you know that they have two very large teams in Manchester and a lot of money. That dates back to the mid-1800s when Manchester became the industrial center of Great Britain. Okay, what does this lead to? Awful sanitation, pollution. I'm surprised you guys didn't say that when it said the negative effects. Crime rates go up, homelessness, middle-class people start moving out to the suburbs, creating suburbia. Okay, and most of you probably understand that. If you've ever, you know, when I moved here in 1992, okay, my parents' house was in a cornfield at 131st and basically it's called Hazeldale Parkway in Carmel now, Gray Road. Okay, we used to go look at the cows. We used to go march through the fields with my BB gun, my dad, and all sorts of stuff, and the dog not on a leash. Now there's no cornfield within 5 miles of that. You have to go 5 miles further north to get it. Okay, that's suburbanization. Okay, obviously. All right, so now you're going to have this tough question though. Whose job is it to fix this? The government. So then you ask the question, at what point or what role should the government have in the everyday lives of a human being? Okay, do you need sewer systems? Yeah. Are they cheap? No. Do you need clean water? Yeah. Do you need police? I mean, that's been debated in 2020, obviously. But do you need some form of basic protection? I mean, I know you guys think this is common sense, but it was, again, these things had to evolve. You can't take them for granted. Okay, and so as people started moving into cities, at first life was absolutely awful. Okay, here you can see some art. This kind of combines with this whole idea of romanticism, this artistic movement, and would then later change to what's called impressionism. So if you ever get a chance to go to the art museum downtown, there's some good Monet there. I believe that has pictures of industrial Great Britain. There's some paintings that are pretty good. Staffordshire. You'll notice when coal burns, it creates leftover gases, right? Okay, and it's going to create smog. Coalbrookdale by night. Okay, who's the silent highwayman? Who is that? Who's in the picture? Grim Reaper. Okay, Father Thames introduces his offspring, diphtheria, scrofula, and cholera, to the fair city of London. That's obviously satire. What's happening? People are dying because there's disease in the water that they're drinking. Okay, factories were placed in the most efficient location for them to have power and be able to move product. So factories were typically put on the river. Exactly. Okay, so that's going to provide even more pollution. Take a look at the new industrial city. You can kind of see from these pictures people living on top of each other. You can definitely see in these pictures. Okay, you don't have people cleaning the streets. Think about that for a minute. Okay, think about how disgusting it would be when everyone is living on top of each other and taking their excrements and throwing them out the door. There are no restrooms. Okay, you've got kids with no parents around because they're working, playing, helter skelter everywhere. You've got bars in the bottom of all these buildings because tenants are trying to make as much money as they can. Men coming home with their paychecks, the first thing they do is go straight to the bar. Okay, it's pretty grim situation here at first, but life was supposed to get better, right? So, a couple of changes here that I think are important to note. We've got maybe 4 slides left. I'm gonna hustle. All right. Women and children replaced men as the majority of laborers by 1816. That's a massive change. Okay? Because you could pay them much less and you could put women in dorms where they live together and children as well. There was no minimum wage. So if you complained, you got replaced. I usually do a factory simulation here where I scream at you and I act like I'm the boss and I make people cry and put their nose against the wall and all sorts of crazy stuff. It's really fun. Ask your older siblings or friends. It's actually really fun, but we can't do it this year. But when we do it, people get the point that factory work was unpleasant, to say the least. Okay. All of these things add up to awfulness. Okay. And so, of course, people wanted to riot. Of course, people wanted to organize together and create a rebellion, right? Why could they not? Because who was not supporting these people? The government. Them government. Exactly. That's why the revolutions of 1848 happened in the first place. Does that make sense now? People wanted some safety from the capitalists, but they wanted money at the same time. So how do you balance safety but keeping some of your money? That became a big issue. Is there anyone in our class named Jasmine? Why do I have a Jasmine trying to join my... What's that? What's that? Oh, okay. Sorry. My bad. All right. Moving on here. So, women. Withdrawing from formal jobs if you could. If you became a middle-class woman, your job was now to take care of the family. Got that, Vince? Okay. And that meant that you were seen as the educator. You were there to teach your children to read and write. And for those that were in this new growing middle class, children were seen as like a satisfaction, like you're doing your duty. And that's why I have 2 kids right now, right? When I had no kids for the first 7 years of my marriage. Yes, sir.
I believe in my eighth grade class, we were talking about how China has the whole like all like must marry like someone of the opposite gender and have like 2 children.
Yeah. Yes. But it was more seeing emotional appeal, as in like, I want to do this because it makes me happy. Yeah. Not like China where you have to do it because they need people to work in factories.
It kind of reminded me of it. It's like, oh, you should have 2 kids and a husband or wife.
So, you're not wrong, but I've got to keep moving here. This is going to lead to changes in cultural values, all right? So, as life starts to get better, okay, as money and capital starts to become more available, you've got advertising, newspapers, radio, eventually videos. This is when you start to see the rise of athletics. And the idea that team sports promote unity. This is also going to help with military causes. Okay, in the early 1900s, you have to have a huge military, and so they see sports as kind of being a part of it. This is where you see the rise in this thing called a vacation. Okay, I know a lot of us are probably wondering what that is because I haven't been on one in 9 months, but yes, all right. And so again, this is the changing middle class values that had never really been around before, and luxury goods that are around because of the amount of money that's made in the rough part of the Industrial Revolution at first. All right. We'll stop here. So a few demographic transitions. Birth rates, we said this down. Death rates for children down. Average family size decreases. Why does it decrease? Yes. Anyone? Yeah. And you don't want to pay for them. Exactly. Life expectancy, though, increased. So Louis Pasteur, you guys have heard of pasteurization before. germ theory. Women begin to outlive men because they do less physical labor. And by the 1880s, something that had been done in China for over 1,000 years, vaccinations, okay, start to occur. I know you're chuckling because it was a year ago today. It was the first confirmed case of the Rona. November 17th, 2019. Yep. I know. Crazy. All right. I'm going to stop here just because of time purposes. And I want to show everybody what the homework is. We'll have to pick up the second industrial revolution tomorrow and talk about government. All right. Going to stop the share on this for just a moment and show you what the homework is. All right, so going to modules where these notes are also, when you want to access them, if you haven't already. All right, 1117 Industrial Revolution DBQ work. So you're going to click on this, and pretty important to follow the instructions here. So it says, read the following documents while keeping in mind the prompt from the top, or that's on the top of the front page, first page. Then you're going to write the introductory paragraph to a DBQ essay for Whap. This will include 3 to 4 sentences of contextualization. If you totally forgot what that is, you need to look it up. It's a funnel approach to writing an introductory paragraph. It's a point on the AP exam. Your thesis statement, which should be argumentative, at most 2 sentences. Should be able to get it in 1, and then include your 3 groups from the documents, and then submit this as a text entry by midnight tonight. Okay? I will take it late, but you're going to get points off if you don't get this done on time today. Okay? Also, people didn't take the quiz last night like I had asked. If that's you, you need to take it, and you need to individually send me your score because I will not see it. Okay? I will click on, or I'll show you what the documents look like here. I think I have them right. Yeah. Documents look like this. The question is very basic. How did the beginning of the Industrial Revolution affect the average worker in this time period? So contextualization should look like, oh, there was an agricultural revolution. In Great Britain, there was coal near the surface. This caused people to change labor, lose jobs, move to the city. That's what I would make the contextualization. I basically just did it for you. And if you're paying attention in class, it should be pretty easy. Now, the documents are pretty obvious, too. They're not difficult, okay? Now, we have one question. Yes? Oh, sorry. I changed my mind when I made it. You're right. It's due Wednesday at 10:59. So I want to be able to see where you're at on my study hall and lunch so then I can address the issues on Wednesday. All right, Zoomers, long Zoom. Sorry about that. I hope your next class is shorter because that's a long time. Be good, folks. Don't leave. We got to clean the desks. Bye, folks. Be good.